take a look at. My internet is a bit slow this morning. Okay. All right, first things first, attendance. Please go on to iTaklim and do it manually. Don't forget, yeah, go to the attendance, please, and put your attendance. Now, right, I was looking at the Teams site. So for section 2, got a few replies from all of you in terms of prescription, the language situation in Malaysia, notion of prescription and description, right? Thank you for that. But we have only 5 groups who did that. 1, 2, 3. Group 1, 6, 3, 2, and 7. We've got about 9 groups. Yeah. So what happened to the rest? What happened to the rest of you? You haven't actually put anything there, so that I wouldn't know what you've understood from the articles. Any questions based on the articles so far? Any questions? If you don't have questions, you mention so in the chat box, yeah? Or put your hands up. Okay, if you have questions or don't, please communicate and say, tell me. Any questions? I've got group 1, Farah. I've got group 6, Mimi. Group 3, Kalish. Group 2, Ifa. And group 7, well done, Aiman Hakim. Okay, the others, where are the other groups? I've got group 4 as well, yes, group 4. Group 1, 4, 6, 3, 2, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Have all of you answered? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got group 5 is not here. 5, 8, and 9. Group listing. Okay. So we've got 8 groups, yeah. I've not seen Arif's group. I've not seen, I think, is it Rosdiana's group? Right. Okay, any questions, guys, based on the reading?
Madam, I have a question. What is your opinion of having foreigner teacher come and teach English in Malaysia? Do we will have like a better result of English proficiency or fluency, or it depends on the students? Yeah.
Have you had any experience with a Mat Saleh teacher in your class?
No.
At school?
No.
So probably during my time, it was really nice to see Mat Saleh as my lecturer. Okay, not school, but my lecturer. I've had Mr. Martin, Dr. Adrian, and I think the other one was Dr. Noor. She converted to Islam. So these were the Mat Saleh of our program, our lecturers, and that was the time when I was a Benel student. The feeling of getting a Mat Saleh lecturer is quite different. Yeah, you can you enjoy you do enjoy the difference in terms of how they approach the class. Yeah, in terms of the knowledge, I would say would be similar, because a lot of us who are lecturers would have to study. I mean, we know the material and we know the subject matter, so it would be about similar. But Saleh is that it creates I don't know, it's an ambiance that I felt whenever they come in the class, it will be so much fun. Yeah, but maybe I was a bit biased because I had a few Malaysian lecturers as well who went into the class and was really grumpy. I don't know. I had lecturers who were grumpy, except for one. There was this lecturer called her name was Dr. Nora. So she was really fun and very laid back. So that was good for us. Okay, but for Mat Saleh teachers to go into schools, it was part of the Malaysian government's effort to raise the standards, right? Okay, and when we go to the topic on communicative competence, we're going to look at what we know as the Common European Framework. Have you heard of this, guys? I think I showed it to you when I was in CFS. Common European Framework. So we are expected it was in the papers a few years back. All of you are expected to have attained a certain kind of band or level. What level is that? A C? At least a C1, or for language program, the expected level is C2 upon graduation. So if you have time, just go read up, but we're going to cover that one later in one of our lessons. So C2 means near native-like speakers. So that was when the Malaysian government wanted, oh no, we have to bring in the native speakers, yeah, the Mat Salehs. And I think a lot of our students at schools in rural areas, they actually managed to get Mat Salehs. To me, I think there's two schools of thought. Yeah, on one side, the Malaysian professors were ridiculing that action by the Malaysian government ministry, because you've sent a lot of people go to study overseas for TESOL programs, linguistics programs, but now you're saying that they're not good. Yeah, and of course they're not good, because when you're teaching at rural schools, yeah, there's very limited time where you can actually practice the language. It's only how many hours in class. Yeah, other than that, the teachers themselves would have to make sure that they don't break into Malay. Yeah, so that their English won't just become so saturated and poor, or rather become weak. So that's why when I want you guys to keep on discussing and talking, just keep talking in English as much as possible to practice, so that you don't forget. I probably love if there's a Mat Saleh to come into my class if I was a primary school student or a secondary school student. It's just that difference of what people say, tukangin. Yeah, so it's nice. I don't know, what about you guys? Do you like a Mat Saleh lecturer or teacher? Yes.
Yeah, I would like to, because I want to feel, get the experience.
Yeah, it's different, and it's really nice to have that kind of person in class. They don't hire Mat Salis anymore, which is really sad because an international university should have that variety. I guess I was lucky because we had those people, and I think IIUM and a lot of other universities have stopped hiring expats because of, you know, there's no budget from the government and they would like to retain locals. Yeah, so paying Mat Saleh would probably be more, maybe, not sure. So yeah, they stopped. And I think the Mat Saleh also got tired already with the Malaysian system, and they wanted to go out and probably go to Hong Kong or China or Taiwan or Japan. Yeah, so and which probably have a different kind of incentive for them and experience. They probably pay them a lot more than Malaysian government. So that would be one pull factor. The Mat Saleh, when they go to Asia, it's all about getting double the pay that they are getting from their own university in the West. So they get paid a lot, and it's really good for them. Okay, any other questions? Now, what's the implication of knowing the situation in those three articles? What would be the implication besides whatever that you have written there in the teams? What kind of reflection or understanding that you have towards yourself as a learner? You went through the school education experience with those policies. How many of you actually went through the Malay English, or rather English only or BM only policy? Anybody? How was it for you?
I don't know.
Madam, I'd like to share my experience. I think during primary, my English was a lot worse when I went into secondary, maybe because of the policies and the environment. In primary, I was surrounded with a lot of Malay students, so we don't communicate English outside of English classes. But when I went into secondary, my school was I was surrounded with more, you know, Chinese students, Chinese and Indian students. We don't have a lot of Malay students in my secondary schools. So it's not like I was forced, but I think it was natural for me to learn English because most of them speak English in secondary school. So I think it's not really the policies that made me actually want to learn English. It's the surrounding, it's the environment. So when I was primary school, I was surrounded with people who speak English. Then that's how I actually learned how to speak fluent English and better English. And that's why I'm here right now doing this course.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's my experience.
Thank you for sharing. That is talking about individual differences, how you're able to study or learn English in your own way. Because some of us learned English just by probably listening to the radio or English songs, right? And that would probably be one of the major factors for me when I was growing up, learning. And not so much of the talking, but more also for the reading. That's one of the reasons why I love the language so much, because it was easy. Yeah, because reading was just my hobby, and I could devour any like 5 books every day. Yeah, comics, English comics, Archie's, Nancy Drew, you name it. All the fiction, novels. So reading is still predominantly the major factor for anybody to learn a language and acquire. Okay, and this is one thing that we're going to cover in week 5 when we talk about language learning and learning and acquisition. Probably you've looked at it before. Okay, so yeah, anyone else would like to share their thoughts about the 3 articles? I'm opening. Anyone else?
I don't know.
Madam, I would like to share. Yeah, I think I get to experience the English only, the BM only, and also the combination of the language. And I would say for me, lah, at least, I'm confused with the language transition, because when you already know the word in Malay, you don't know how to translate it to English, and it can be either wise. And when I enter university, everything is in English. So it's kind of confusing, and it's hard for me to get back all the vocabularies. And yeah, at least for me, it's very difficult.
Do you know how to get it back?
Yeah, finally.
How?
I
How,
need to.
how do you think you can recover?
I read a lot of books. Books sometimes can be very boring, I know, but then even though I'm in university, I still read, books, children books with pictures, just to get back the vocabulary, the basic vocabulary, and then I will change to the books with novel with no pictures, and with that I get to recover back my vocabulary, and also listen to songs and a lot more.
Yes, yes. That is the thing. We have to, at your level, and you've got how many more semesters to go? This is where you make mistakes and improve yourself. But it doesn't mean that you stop learning after you graduate, correct? So you need to be able to continue that learning and of the language. I'm just going to show you something. I'll just put that on my desktop. Okay. I'm going to share screen now. Just a minute. Share screen. Okay. Have a read on this one. Where is it? Okay, window. Okay, I'm going to show you something. Just let me open it. Anybody else would like to share? Yes, please talk. Otherwise, if you don't ask questions, nothing would come out from the articles that you read. Okay, desktop.
Yay, Kahoot.
Can you see this screen? Can you see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, madam.
Just read and understand what this means.
Constant notification, endless channels, multiple apps, 40-hour weeks, +5 social events, text messages, email, and WhatsApps. No wonder we feel overwhelmed, frazzled, and on high alert. Let's slow down,
Right.
reschedule, and delete whenever we can. It's time to give.
So you know what this means?
And the rest we need.
It means that you only have to read one thing, and that one thing should be able to make you rest from looking at all these things that we are being bombarded every day, which is our handphone. I still love reading storybooks the manual way. You know, you open the book, yeah, and not the e-books, especially for novels or fiction. Yeah, and that's how we appreciate the language, the stories, the time out from all these things. Yeah, no wonder we were feeling stressed during the first year or onto our second year of MCO, because everything was online. At the same time, we were doing everything else online, yeah, social media lah, whatever. So suddenly everything went online. But you need to have that timeout. Yeah, and the timeout would be just watching something for 2 hours or reading something for 2 hours and just enjoy and relax and don't keep thinking that you're going to miss out on other things. No. So one way to wind down is to grab that book and appreciate that, because a lot of us are not reading enough. Yeah. So I'm quite concerned with that. That's just a sharing. I love this rude awakening as or rather good awakening. And we tend to forget. Yeah. So I will also like that kind of approach in our class. Sometimes on weekends we try to not disturb people, but we do it sparingly. Okay, we do it sparingly. Okay, now if we don't have any questions, how many of you are here? All of you, yeah. Let me just check attendance. I hope, please, what do you call this? Get your attendance done on iTa'lim, yeah, as we speak. Make sure you put in your attendance. Right, we've got 23 of you. All right. Wahida, is it 23 altogether for our class?
Yeah, based on the Telegram group.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, lovely. All right. So we've got, I'm just looking at your group here. We've got 8 groups, yeah. So I'm just gonna do something for a while. Okay. So we've got 8 groups. Farah, Fatiha, Kalish, Diana, right? Now, later today, we're going to assign your group project topics. Yeah, group project topics. So you're going to remind me on that one. But now, the lesson is about language teaching. And this, again, I mentioned in the reflection, is where you will tell me something about how you were taught before in terms of language. Let's say if you were taught English or other languages, yeah, what you remembered most. And this is one of the things that I'm going to highlight. Those videos that I put on iTa'lim, yeah, it's for your consumption. If you have questions about that, please let me know. Yeah, but now we're going to do something quick. Yeah, this one. I'm going to share with you. How many of you have read the slides?
I've read the slides. It's something.
How many of you have read the slides that I gave?
Me.
Right. Now, this would be exhaustive as well. I'm just going to share with you the screen. Let me check. Okay. Right. Okay. What's the difference between an approach and a method? Anybody? Let's just brainstorm. What's the difference between approach and method? Are they the same or different?
I think it's different.
For me, there's a slight difference between the two because I think approach is the way and method is how we conduct the way. Maybe.
How we conduct the way. Okay, we're going to go over these points quickly. We'll look at method and approach. Why is it significant to know teaching method and teaching approaches in applied linguistics? Yeah, because it's applied linguistics started with the need to teach English to immigrants. Yeah. If you read the chapters, it was started in Edinburgh, yeah, where there were a lot of migrants. So they wanted to know how to teach these people English. Yeah. So we're going to look at what is a method. Yeah, it is how we teach you based on a certain theory. Okay, based on a certain theory of language learning. All right. Here it says, for the teacher, methods prescribe what materials and activities should be used, how they should be used, and what the role of the teacher should be. So method is how I teach you in class. Yeah. If you were to look at the videos that I gave, you will spend time today watching those videos, and you're going to have some questions for us later for the span of 2 weeks, this week and next week. Yeah, get your questions together and understand that carefully. So for learners, methods prescribe what approach to learning the learner should take and what roles the learner should adopt in the classroom. Okay, just hold that thought. What is an approach now? It's the theory on the nature of language. What kind of approach are we talking about? So many. And this is what we're going to address in your reflection number 1. Okay, let's take a look. All right, an approach is influenced by theory. One is the structural view of language and the other one is a functional view of language. So what is structural view of language? Anybody knows? Structure, function. Any clue at all from the word?
Maybe structure is about the grammar, the pronunciation, maybe.
And function?
How we use the language in real world activities, maybe.
Yes. Do you remember when you were doing your SPM English or when you were doing some papers in English back in school? Yeah. The English test or English exam would have questions like Ali, not Ali lah. Ali, okay, Ali lah. Ali is asking is asking a question to Abu on a certain product. So the function is to question, to ask, to inform, to describe. So the action is to ask or to ask, yeah, to ask. It's functional. So words or actions that words that dictate a certain function. To ask, to inform, to describe, to monitor, and all those things. So that would be functional. Yeah, and functional view, as we're going to see later, has a lot to do with what they call the communicative language teaching. I think this was addressed in one of the articles, one of the 3 articles you did last week, the journal articles. Communicative-based language teaching is quite functional, yeah, because it serves a purpose. It serves that function. As long as you understand, it's communicative and it's functional, yeah. And there's no emphasis on grammar, whereas yes, structural view of language has emphasis on grammar. So as I speak today, you will start thinking back on how you were taught a language, whether it's English, Bahasa Melayu, or rather foreign language, Bahasa Arab, okay, Arabic, during CFS days. How was the teaching conducted? Yeah, what are the conditions here? What are the conditions that needs to be met for these learning processes to be activated? You were doing a lot of things in learning. Yeah, habit formation here means memorization. So when you memorize things like Arabic, I had to memorize a lot. Yeah, and it becomes a habit, so you understand. All right, or is it inductive? What is inductive, guys? How many of you know what is inductive? What inductive means? What does inductive mean? Anybody? And what is deductive learning means? Any example? You can Google it. Google what is inductive versus deductive learning.
What is this? I don't understand.
Anybody would like to share what you found?
I think I can share from my founding here. So basically, inductive is developing a theory, and deductive is testing an existing theory, like putting a theory into practice, maybe.
When it comes, in a way, when it comes to learning, or learning a language, if you can still recall about how you learn the language, were you given a rule, let's say a grammatical rule, and then you start using it in your speaking, or in your speech or writing based on those rules, and then you practice, the teacher was keep on giving you practices, and you keep on writing sentences with subject, verb, object, the ruling, the grammar ruling, or the teacher used a different approach like inductive. Inductive is where they give you a certain text, and then they make you study it and detect and work out what you can notice about the sentences. We're going to do a little bit of a simulation later on this one. So something like this, when you're shown certain words, adjectives, adjectives in class. All right, and then the teacher gives you a whole text, and you're supposed to underline adjectives. So you make out those words yourself. As opposed to the teacher teaching you what adjectives mean. And then you make sentences using adjective one by one. The progress is like that. All right, so this is inductive and deductive. All right, any questions so far? So I'm just glossing over the slides for you, because one of the video lectures is also talking about this. But what you need to understand is that when we talk about theory of language, or it influences the approach that is being used, whether it is structural or functional. Structural means you go by the grammar. You learn grammar one by one. What is adjectives? What is vocabulary? What is the grammar? So very structured. And who believes in a structural way of learning language? How many of you remember your grandfather of language? Linguistics? Chomsky. Yes. Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
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 Okay, he was the proponent of traditional grammar. Okay, so the grammar approach. So can you imagine those people who had long ago who had to learn Latin? You know what Latin is? It's a language. They found that learning Latin was really hard, because the way it was taught was very grammatical approach. They had to learn and all the rules. Compare that with you learning Arabic. Was it functional or structural? Anybody?
I think it's
structural, because we have to answer the APT.
Same thing like Latin. So that is something where you find it quite cumbersome, yeah, to actually go one by one. Yeah. Compare that with how you learned or acquired English. How did you acquire English, guys? Were you taught the first thing that when you came out of your mother's tummy, your mom would tell you, okay, subject, verb, object is this.
Oh, dang.
So would you say you acquired it structurally or functionally?
To me, structurally.
Yes, functionally or communicatively.
Functionally.
All right, you've acquired it that way. But when then you went into school, you learned the rules or the structure. So which one is nicer for you? Which one is nicer? Better?
Functional.
Functionally.
And you do remember the journal article is talking about the functional or the communicative way of language learning and how it has one of the reasons of the deterioration of English. We see this every day in the papers. Yeah, English going down, English of graduates going down, blah, blah, blah. One of the reasons was the fact that it was taught communicatively. Communicative language teaching or functional approach has its downside. Although in the real world, yeah, we do it communicatively when we function in the social world. But when it comes to grammar, our students fail. Our students keep on forgetting the grammar of the language because everything is done communicatively without a emphasis on structure, on the right grammar. Okay, now, before I go further, I would like to spend time. I would like all of you to go through my slides, yeah? And I want you to ask questions about the slides. Yeah, they're very straightforward, yeah? And I'm just going to jump to certain slides. And it's your role to read them and see whether you've understood certain slides and you want me to explain, okay, in the next class. So here is what technique, method, and approach mean. Yeah, different theories about the nature of language and how languages are learned, the theory, the approach, remember, would dictate the language teaching method. And the different methods will be influencing the different kinds of activities in class. We'll be doing some activities later for each of the group in class. And the examples of methods here, these are my slides and the video lectures are there. So that's your call. So I'm going to assign groups to do a simulation of teaching a language. All right, we've got 8 groups here. Let me see, we've got 8 groups. So you're gonna understand the slides on your own with the video lecture, and you're gonna bring the questions in the next class. If you don't have, if you need to prepare, for you to prepare, yeah? Suggestopedia and all these things, total physical response, communicative language teaching, task-based language teaching. So I'm going to assign you that for you to prepare, for each group to prepare a lesson. And the lesson would be to teach us a certain language using that approach. Sorry, using that method. We've got the grammar translation method. What is it? From the title, we know already. It's using grammar as a teaching approach. The dry part, just like Arabic, yeah. And then we have the what do you call this? The next one would be the first one is grammar translation. And then we have the direct method. What is it? Okay, in the video lecture, there's the direct method. And the next one is the audiolingual method. Yeah, grammar, direct, audiolingual. How many of you study or learn a language using audiolingual method?
Oh, no, not me.
Me.
What is that app called?
Sorry?
Is it a certain application?
No, in Korean class in KLM, we have to use this one particular book. I can't remember, but it depends on the dialogue. And the lecturer will always turn on the audio, and then we have to like repeat whatever they said.
So now you know it's the audiolingual method. This is also something where you use Duolingo. Do you know what Duolingo is?
Yes.
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 So you keep on using all those apps to listen. And this is what audiolingual method is. And every method has its pros and cons. Okay, but it has a certain criteria and what it's trying to do. So you understand that from the lecture and the slides first, yeah? And then we have the methods that moved away from the traditional method. So the traditional method, it would be the grammar translation method, direct method, and audiolingual method. And then they started the humanistic approaches in the 1970s and 80s. And this is influenced by psychology and psychotherapy. And these are the methods: the silent way, total physical response, suggestopedia, and communicative language learning. So we've got silent way, TPR, total physical response, and suggestopedia. Right.
Madam, I have a question on the silent way. On the video they showed us that color table.
Yes.
Is that, how do we read the table exactly? According to the color or how? Because it's kind of confusing for me to watch the video because I don't understand anything. The teacher as if just being silent, and it's a bit confusing, madam.
Yes. Okay. Now so it helps for you to read watch the video and also understand my slides, and then you come up with questions where you don't understand. So thank you very much. Because I don't want to go through all my slides. It'll be just be wasting your time. Okay, the silent way. All right, the silent way is influenced by psychotherapy. Yeah. Formally, when they wanted to address patients, yeah, patients or participants, all right. These are the participants who need some kind of time to understand. Most of the time, they are quite slow in learning. All right, so they assign words to the colors. So they identify words with colors. And that's where you see this one. The sound color chart. Each color symbolizes a sound. So it's quite phonetically related. Yeah, so they learn language using color coding, and the colors represent, let's say, a sound or a word, and the teacher will just point to the colors without saying anything. Yeah, and the students or the participants or the patients will just say it out. It's quite kind of a rote learning, and this is where the learning is facilitated if the learner discovers or creates rather than remembers and repeat what is to be learned. So they themselves discover the words, the sound that was being taught. Learning is facilitated by problem solving the material to be learned. This is when they discover the sound of the word or the word itself, they will understand that a certain word or a certain sound matches this kind of the certain sound matches the word. For instance, give us a word like the word I mentioned last week, which is pronouncing the word T and TH, let's say. Yeah, so they understand it themselves. So psychotherapy was it started with psychotherapy. They wanted the patients to learn by thinking. Yeah, and problem solving is a thinking activity, and this, the silent way doesn't impose any pressure on the student. If you were to watch the video again, everybody is taking their time to understand and to decipher and to finally get it on their own. Yeah, so this would be suited for those who slow learners, because they need time to understand. Let's take a look at this one. Here it is. The teacher refers students to a color-coded wall chart depicting individual sounds. The students use this to point out and build words with correct pronunciation. Do you think that this technique is suited for adults or kids?
Adults.
Yeah. Is this suited for adults or kids?
I think adults.
Adults, yeah. Adults with what do you call this? Who's learning the language for the first time? They can be, because you can keep the students silent. Correct? It is probably not suitable for children. Why? Why is it not suitable for children?
Because they have really wide imaginations.
Energy.
Yes.
They will make noise and it won't be silent anymore. Yeah. So this is where they learn it. And bear in mind, this is in the 70s and 80s, and it was influenced by psychotherapy. It did not become popular eventually. Yeah. But this was translated from psychotherapy therapy approach. All right. So it didn't become popular. All right. Because when the modern theories came, which is the communicative language teaching, people wanted to communicate. Language is all about talking. Language is all about speech. So there must be a mixture of approaches or method in one particular classroom. For instance, your teacher, you're learning Korean. Sometimes she uses audiolingual. Sometimes she wants you to do role play, and then sometimes she wants you to repeat after her. Correct? And then she points to the words on the whiteboard. So those are a mixture of all these techniques that you've been exposed to before. Word charts. How many of you remember your teacher pointing to a word chart? The consonant chart. How many of you remember? S, the S, the Ch, the K, the R, pointing. So the silent way is where it starts with the pointing and the pronunciation. And of course, there's no more the need of colors when you can actually put the words on the board. Yeah, so that's how it is. But this is where the teacher gives, yeah, this is the one, the sound color chart. But this is when the teacher gives time for each student to practice one by one. Okay, let me just call a name here. Okay, let's say Hakim. Hakim, and she points to the board one by one until the end. Okay, pronounce this. And then next he goes to Rosdiana. Okay, right, that would be a silent way of learning. Silent way where everyone else just focus on one person and then the next and then the next. Anything else? Suggestopedia is also in the late 70s. Okay, Suggestopedia. I'm not gonna do any activity on Suggestopedia. I'm gonna reserve it till in the next class. But any one of you understand what have any questions about Suggestopedia if you've read the slides yet?
It's quite confusing.
No? Okay, let's take a look at this one now. Okay, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat box. Yeah, so I'm gonna stop there. And let's do a little bit of a Suggestopedia exercise.
Yeah.
Let me just stop sharing. From the word Suggestopedia, what do you understand? Suggestopedia.
A whole new.
What is the root word?
A method of suggesting something.
Suggesting something. Okay. What is being suggested, do you think?
The meaning of a word.
The meaning of a word? Ah, interesting. Okay. Right. Now I'm gonna play something for you. Okay, right, this is good. Right, this is how Suggestopedia takes place. Let's do one activity, yeah? Quick one.
Okay, madam.
Okay, so the teacher will go into class and everybody, can you just lie down on the floor? So everybody gets to lie down on the floor. All right, lie down on the floor and I want you to close your eyes, and for real guys, close your eyes, right? Okay, I'm just going to do something now. Wait, you can't probably hear it. Share, yeah. So this is how it's done. Okay, so all right, everybody, please open your eyes and sit up and relax. Welcome to today's topic on, okay, something like that, yeah? So Suggestopedia, by the root word suggest, it is giving, it's based on psychotherapy, yeah? So people who gets treated by or have therapies to calm their minds. So they thought that, hey, wait a minute, let's do some music in language learning, yeah? And most of the time, learners who come into class are quite anxious, yeah, quite anxious and quite nervous, especially in Arabic class when I don't have time to study, and the Ustad will say, what's the usual thing that Ustad will say? Do you remember how he calls you? Sister and brother. What is that word that he uses?
Brother.
Sometimes he calls your name. Okay, so that feeling of anxiety in language learning in the language class because you don't know how to speak the language, and the teacher makes sure that your learning is calm. He uses music, and music has been used in language learning for so long. Yeah, and this is just how it was done then, to give the person or the students some kind of a relaxation. Yeah, and when the students are relaxed, when the students are feeling quite calm, learning will take place, and that is what they think. Okay, so a lot of things that we are going to we are learning from this. Okay, Suggestopedia. Learning is facilitated in an environment that is as comfortable as possible, featuring soft cushion seating and dim lighting. So of course, in an ideal situation where I do it in class, in our face-to-face class, I would get everybody to switch off the lights, yeah, and just sit back and close their eyes. And we will do it the way that the Suggestopedia wants us to do. So when the idea is when you are relaxed, the learning takes place. Okay, and we do songs every time in class, inshallah, right? So why the word Suggestopedia? Any fear or anxiety or any psychological barriers of the learner is being desuggested, meaning detoxed. Okay, so the teacher will talk through the process. Okay, so this is one Suggestopedia. Learning new information. All right, there is a phase. One is where the students go first from the receptive phase, yeah, learning or internalizing, and then they will do the activity, the group reading, with varying emotions or certain topics for the day, yeah. But they will want to, they will already feel quite relaxed and not fear the teacher or the lesson. Any questions on the subjects, the approaches, the methods earlier? You can please ask me as we go along in the chat box. Okay, any questions? So far, so good?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Good.
Yes, madam.
Total physical response is just like what the video showed you. And how many of you remember how your teachers taught you in class? Was it with activities where everybody had to go around the class and do things? Yeah. Or just silently seated? In Arabic class, in Arabic learning class, how was it? Was there any activities where you can go out and about or just seated?
For Arabic, it's just seated, madam.
So that is the grammatical approach, yeah, traditional approach. So total physical response is from psychotherapy. Again, there's stimulus and response, yeah. There must be a reinforcement of whatever that is being taught. So this is basically movements, yeah, movements of activities. So we're going to do a little bit of activity in the second class. Today is probably just an understanding. I'm going to do communicative language teaching next week, probably next week. This is just glossing over all the techniques. Okay. All right. Now, any questions on the slides or the video first before we actually go into the one activity?
Madam, Aizat has asked you in the comment section.
Okay, because I did not open the thing. Let me just open this one. Okay. Ah, is Suggestopedia a kind of pseudoscience? What do you think, Aizat?
Pseudoscience.
What do you think?
Incompatible with the scientific method.
What is pseudoscience, guys?
Something that underneath our conscious pseudo.
What is pseudoscience?
Like fake science?
Something that claims to be scientific in nature, but
Not. But it's not, yes. What is an example of pseudoscience? Something like sorcery or wizardry or something like that, right? Something magical. Yeah, Suggestopedia is nothing like pseudoscience, Aiman. It's just a simple technique for therapy. In the beginning, when they wanted to treat people with mind problems, yeah, psychotherapy is how they treat them. So they use a lot of methods, music, how to calm the person. So then these methods were adopted, or rather influenced all kinds of learning, and that included language teaching. Yeah, as you will see, or rather observe, yeah, in your reflection, you probably want to find out or recollect, was there any kind of Suggestopedia element, or maybe it was just straightforward grammar translation method and you didn't like it. So one of the questions that I addressed in the reflection number 1 that you need to do in the assessment is what was the language teaching method used, and what do you remember most about it? What didn't you like about it? How would you do it differently, or how would you want the teacher to do differently? Okay. All right, so that's what Suggestopedia is. And of course, it didn't become popular anymore. It was just restricted to treating patients with psychological problems. And okay. Anything else?
I have a question, madam.
Yes.
If we know that teaching Arabic structurally is not as effective as teaching Arabic functionally, why is it still being taught that way in CFS?
I like your question. Who taught you Arabic, can I ask? Was he young, or was he quite aged?
I had 2 lecturers. One is about middle age, and one was just graduated.
Okay. I must say that they were also taught Arabic that way. It's because they were also taught Arabic that same way, and they think that that's the correct way. All right, now you've got to look at the outcome of you learning Arabic. It's actually to pass the APT, right?
Yeah.
That's the purpose. So when the end purpose wants you to pass a certain exam, and the exam and the test is all about your proficiency in all these skills: reading, writing, speaking, listening, and also testing your vocabulary and grammar. Yeah, the approach has to be quite methodical and academic. It has got to infuse all the traditional methods. So they've got to make sure that you get the grammar right, so that you write the sentences properly, grammatically, to answer the test. But if you are using if you are just going and migrating to Saudi Arabia, yeah, you probably go into classes that is just for Arabic for communication. You didn't have to bother. What do you call this? To know detail about grammar. Of course, they will teach on muzakkar and muannas and all that, yeah, but not to a point of you understanding every little bit, because you're just there for a business trip. So let's say Arabic for business communication. They will want you to just grasp the vocabulary of business communication in Arabic. So it goes back down to the purpose. And good that you asked the question. In language teaching, the predominant idea is to get you to be proficient as opposed to being competent. What's the difference between proficient and competent? Anybody knows?
Proficient and competent.
What's the difference between proficiency and competency? Yes, you can Google it. And just mention to the class, anybody who would like to help?
Proficiency.
What's the difference between competency and proficiency?
Competent. All right.
Anybody?
Proficiency is actually good at one skill, while competent is just like average on that skill.
Correct. So would you say that you're proficient in Arabic?
No, just competent.
Yes. Okay. And CIFR, or the European Framework for Common European Framework, is addressing competency. But for us, for language graduate, it has to be a C2. So the expectations is very high. Yeah, expectations very high. Okay. Now, I'll continue with the activity for our language teaching approaches with your questions. But before we end our class, I would like to assign the group projects. Yeah, just 1 minute. Topics for group projects. Okay, let me see. I'll do something here. Okay, I'm going to look at, we're going to stop the lesson there and we're going to continue the next class. We're going to look at your list of names. You've got 8 groups, yeah? You've got 8 groups. All right, I'm going to call the leaders. Okay, I'm going to call randomly the leaders' names, and I'm going to start this one for first group. Let's see. Okay, for the first group.
Ooh.
Right, if you can see from the title over here, these are the titles of your project, group project.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So let's spin.
Who wants to be the millionaire?
For the first group, yeah? And this is going to be done randomly. First group is Farah. Let's see what you will get. Ready?
Yeah.
Ching, 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 ching. Language learning, which one?
So that's language learning strategies.
All right.
That's your topic. Okay, language learning strategies, group 1. So can somebody in the group go to the grouping list and just type the title of the topic that you're going to do? Language learning strategies for group 1, yeah? The grouping list in Teams. All right, now Fatiha. Let's see what you are going to do for your group. Fatiha's group, second group. Right, language skills, writing. So I'll explain to you what that means later on, yeah? But just enter your topic. That language teaching and the skills is writing. Fatiha's group, yeah?
Okay, madam. All
right, just write in the grouping list so that you don't forget. And also it helps us to keep tab. Kalish is the next one. Kalish's group. So what is that? That is language learning and identity. Interesting. Language learning and identity, right? You type it in the group list. Rose Diana. Rose Diana, let's see what you guys are going to do. Interesting as well. Language for specific purposes.
Yes.
All right, yeah, just fill in. Because I'm not keeping tab here. You guys are keeping tab and putting it in the list, yeah? Anis Yohana. Anis Yohana. Let's see what your topic is going to be on computer-assisted language learning. Yeah, the topic is using technology in language learning, basically.
All
right. Anis Yohana. Izzah. Nurul Izzah. Let's see what you're going to do. Right. Very popular topic, language learning motivation and attitude. Ayman. Teaching language skills, anything to do with speaking. Yes, speaking skills.
Okay, right, madam.
And the last one is Arif. Arif's group. Language learning styles.
Thank you, madam.
Welcome. So what you can do is you can start researching what these topics are. It's quite an umbrella topic, yeah, and you're going to go find studies that have been done on these topics related to these keywords, yeah, and you're going to, each of you, you're going to divide yourself. The team leader should be able to divide you guys, okay? Let's find 2 journal articles each. 2 journal articles each on that topic. And then you will discuss among yourselves on your findings and which study you would like to adapt. Now, adapting a study is one thing. Because you're going to use an entirely personalized samples. Yeah, it can be quantitative, it can be qualitative. So it's a mini research. It's a mini research. You're going to either interview people or you're going to put out a survey. Yeah, so start finding those journal articles in databases, latest library research databases, so that you can fine-tune or focus, narrow down what you like to do. Okay, I've got language learning motivation and attitude, for example, in the topic that was done last semester. It was language learning motivation and attitude among ENCOM students. Now, if your angle is that, it's going to be quite boring because language learning motivation and attitude is very pervasive. Yeah, many research has been done on this topic, and it has been proven that, yeah, sure, language learning will be great if you have motivation to do it and if you have the attitude to match. Okay, I didn't have the motivation to learn Mandarin because I didn't have an external motivation. I was not I didn't have anything else that I could look for forward to use Mandarin. So that's why I did not pursue the class. Yeah, you might say that I feel motivated to go to class, but your attitude doesn't show it. Yeah. Well, why didn't you go to class then? Oh, I had other things to do. So my attitude doesn't show that I was motivated. So this is a very interesting topic, but you might want to check out what's the latest issue on this and not do the cliche ones. Yeah, because it is something obvious. If you have the motivation plus the right attitude, learning takes place. Okay, something similar to the rest as well. So start digging research on your topics and then decide among yourselves, your group members, which one you want to adapt. Okay, and this is week 3. The final submission for the mini project paper is week 15. You don't have a presentation for this assignment. You only have a mini project paper. So you better start now because the project has some consultation given. You're only given 5 consultations each. So that would be 5 mini small, I don't want to call it chapters, you call it sections in your report, in your mini research. Yeah, so find something that is interesting and recent in the research database, in the library database for the articles, and start thinking, what is your sample? What is your approach or design, whether you want to do it quantitatively or qualitatively. So this week starts the consultation. Next week, you will probably want to have some consultation time with me in class or outside of class time to decide, or rather to ask questions. So the time starts now, and if you start early, you definitely can finish this job early. Yeah, and you don't, and it won't be a bottleneck for you towards the end with other assignments. Okay, that's as far as the topics are concerned. You can always ask in the Telegram group, and I'll see you on Wednesday for one activity. Inshallah, one activity. I'll probably do one activity on one teaching learning teaching method, and then entertain questions. All right, it's 11:22. Sorry, guys. Any questions, please put it in the Telegram. All right. Shall we end the class?
Okay, madam.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you,
madam.
madam.
Thank you, madam.
Madam. Have a nice day.
Thank
you, madam.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Recording stop.